They're going to close out with the lowdown, the inside stuff on Anime Boston. Find out exactly what's going down because
Speaking of ancient retro, the theme this year was retro gaming, and they did have some really cool content on that.
Oh, you said ancient retro. From what you told me, I thought the theme was oppression.
So the theme was retro gaming, and they had a lot of really cool displays and a lot of old meme stuff. Like they had a great bunch of signs out in the hallway that referenced like the weird stuff. Like I don't even know how to explain this.
Old meme.
Okay, so there's like a big picture that just said Sephiroth a ton of times, but hyphenated different ways. So if you look at it for 2 minutes, you realize that it's just the Sephiroth theme song.
Oh,
Sephiroth, exactly. And then they had like all your bays, and then they had like it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, but it was like 5 hours of sleep, 2 hot meals, and 1 goddamn shower per day. Some juicy Anime Boston gossip in the Anime Boston social Facebook group. There was some drama that broke out this year over whether or not it is privileged to wear deodorant.
Privilege?
Wearing deodorant is a privilege because it costs money and it's expensive, and thus some people may not be able to afford it. And by saying that people are smelly, you are discriminating against them at the con. There was some spicy discourse about the hot dramas of deodorant gate.
This is somebody who's inhaled that con funk before. Wash your ass, you dirty. Hygiene is like taught in...
This was like a thing, and like I used to go to Anime Boston many years ago as something called the Febreze Fairy, where I would have a little sign that says "Feeling fresh, less than fresh, the Febreze Fairy can help." And I would have, I had miniature deodorants. I have a bunch of pictures of this from like 2006, 2008. I think I did it again. 2009, I did it with like my crazy rainbow dreads. But so it just like it was a really funny thing. And then this year it just was like a theme. So I did see like someone dressed up as like a carton of Axe. Like it was just really funny element. So it's just like some hot discourse for this year's Anime Boston.
Right.
But
actually, no. If somebody came as Terry Crews and what's his name?
Oh, that would have been so good. Oh, can you imagine? Just a towel. Yelling.
Okay, I'd be behind that 100%.
Does anyone remember when you can control him online and he would like play instruments with his muscles and he would just be like yelling muscles? It was good.
In all fairness, though, that started with the subservient chicken. From,
oh gosh, I remember that.
But anyway, so like Anime Boston.
Talking about old memes.
So. I mean, yeah, there was some great stuff. My favorite thing that I went to was Bad Anime Bad, which is usually like a compendium of just exactly that, bad anime. But because it was retro stuff, the guy that runs it was like, I'm just going to show you some weird stuff from 1977, which was way up my alley because I'm like, hey, I remember this from when I showed that when I was a kid. Because like, growing up in the early 90s stuff, that's what was shown at 4 a.m. on cable. So I was like, oh, hey, it's that weird Dracula anime. I've seen that. And it was just a really nice, wild ride.
See, I always thought I was detrimented by not getting into anime until, legitimately. I saw like cartoons growing up. Till the 90s, I didn't know what it was.
This is going to shock you,
Maybe I dodged the bullet.
So growing up, the way I actually got into anime, the first ever anime movie I ever saw in my whole life was that my dad was like, oh, anime, my daughter will love this. And so he taped Wicked City.
Yes!
And gave me a VHS of Wicked City.
Yes, my 4-year-old will love this tentacle penetrating this woman's mouth.
I was 13.
Okay.
I know you're all shocked that I'm a burlesque performer and have dubbed hentai professionally, but no. But yeah, so that's how I got into anime, actually. And then Sailor Moon at 6 a.m, of course. But
no Samurai Pizza Cats?
I never got it. It's too annoying.
I loved it.
I like the theme song. It was too annoying. I don't like the annoying.
It was the dude that sounded like Paul Lynde.
I learned Spanish by watching Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, Anime Boston. Well, they are Dragon Ball Zeta. Anyway, so San Telemundo, they were always like 10 episodes ahead of what was being translated. Anyway, so here's my thing.
¿Dónde está el baño?
I hate you. That wasn't even right. So the thing with Anime Boston is this. I don't want to say it's too big for its britches at this point, but the way that certain things are being handled these days, such as the length of time one must wait in lines to get into panels
there was a line controversy.
It's not as bad as 2008 LineCon, where, like, for those who don't know, 2008, there are many people who literally never got into the convention because they got there at like 11 a.m. to pick up their badge, and at 4 o'clock they were still in line, and they were like, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And they were better about that this year. Registration this year was significantly better. They truly did a good job in that way. Mm-hmm. However, things like the concert, people waited 3 hours easily or more to go get in line to see the concert. There were certain things like the flow of traffic.
I love Right Said Fred as much as anybody, but I wouldn't wait that long.
But that's the thing. So the way I feel at Anime Boston this year, there was this kind of duality of really cool stuff, mm-hmm. borderline inaccessible unless you gave up your whole day dedicated to that one content. So like
you're not just talking about either like, Celebrity in Demand.
Yeah, there'd be like, the Puffy Amy Yumi concert. That was the main concert one day. It was which is really cool. For those who don't know, that's like a really, really big name Japanese band, really awesome. But if you wanted to see them and not be shoveled in the back or possibly not get in, easily a 3-hour wait, if not more. I saw people lining up as early as they physically were letting them line up. And that's not necessarily by choice. That's not necessarily like, oh, I don't mind. It's you do that or you are not close enough to the stage. Or things like panels that seemed really cool. I apologize for blanking on the name of the voice actor. There was one who was a Gundam voice actor, very well known.
We talked about that. Oroku Saki. He's very well known.
Why are you doing this to me,
seriously?
Pat?
I'm sorry.
Pat,
seriously.
You are ribbing me hard today.
You're
having a day. But like put in a room that was too small for the amount of people that wanted to see it. Or things like, I wanted to get into the artist alley at one point and I literally couldn't get in because there was a line all but blocking the door. Is that the con's fault? Now, here's the thing. Part of it is, where's the line drawn between security moving staff moving people, and the people in line just kind of blundering around. But there was this weird
feeling. It's
their
responsibility to manage that kind of stuff.
What I'm saying is but then here's the problem. So that instead of just managing it, there would be someone barking in your face. There'd be someone like, only center doors, but like screamed at the attendants. Like the attendants felt, I don't want to say threatened because that's not the right word, but just, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like, oh, they just want to move this line along. At one point in the evening, I had discussed with you off air that, toward the end of the evening's activities, there was very little content late night at Anime Boston. Anime Boston is not a 24-hour convention. And by the time it got to be around midnight, the convention staff, this is the Heinz staff, not the Anime Boston staff, but they were assisting. We're all but ushering people out. So if you were like a cluster of 5 people standing in the hallway talking to each other, they'd be like, if you're not at an event, you have to go. And then we'd be like, oh, okay, we're just figuring out where to go. And like without a beat, they'd be like, you have to go. Like it just was really this weird attitude. And I've kind of been bringing this up for a couple of years that I've gone, that more and more, it's just almost like the Heinz loves Anime Boston but hates Anime Boston. Like they're happy to have this giant event but also hate this giant event. Like,
well, it sounds like because these Gestapo security guards were Heinz people, not Anime Boston
but
people.
At what point does it become the duty of the Anime Boston staff to be working with the convention to make it a pleasurable experience? Because it's happened every year.
It's definitely a collaborative effort. It seems like
this has happened every year.
Yeah, it seems like every year they're just trying to over control.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes, exactly.
Organize
in things that aren't needed. Exactly. They were crowd controlling things that were like tame. Because for Bad Anime Bad is a good example. It was a very large panel. The Anime Boston staff did a wonderful job directing everyone into that panel. Upon exit, there's the Heinz staff barking at you. Move to the exit. Move to the exit. Move to the. And it just puts a damper on what I feel Anime Boston kind of used to be, a very fan collaborative convention, and now it feels, is this a symptom of a con getting larger, or is this a symptom of the way, perhaps a shift in how it's run? I couldn't say, but it feels very impersonal, and it gives me the wrong kind of retro vibe. It made me feel like I was almost an early 2000s con that didn't quite have a feel for where it was located. And it's unfortunate. I don't want to sit here and say like I had a bad time. I had a wonderful time. But I had a wonderful time within what was allowed at Anime Boston. And it kind of feels stifling when you compare a convention that is very quickly growing in size, similarly Katsukon, which has had its flounderings off and on, but seems like they are now moving in the right direction, where Anime Boston is kind of moving further and further away from that. Something really quick to look forward to in my eyes is how do other conventions handle outgrowing their original locations or things. I look forward to Boston Comic-Con, which has now moved from the Seaport World Trade Center over to where PAX is located at the BCEC.
Okay, so you think maybe a change of venue could be the same?
I really think so, but unfortunately I know they are locked into a Heinz contract for some time. I don't have any information for how long. I know it's a couple of years at least, but I feel that
when you sign a contract by somebody named R. Shyster.
Right? Part of it, I think, sadly, is that due to circumstances we won't get into here right now, Anime Boston lost its late night dance party. Anime Boston is kind of a, red mark at this point. It's like a dirty word in the name of conventions. It's had a lot of drama to it. And it just doesn't offer, for the price of Anime Boston, it does not offer half as much as what smaller cons offer. And I feel that it's kind of lost its roots.
And they've been bumping that up year after year.
Yeah, so the price of the con goes up, and the content has gone dramatically less content. And this is something that I can get into another time, but a lot of panels this year felt that they were industry panels rather than fan-based panels. There were a lot of like industry-based retrospectives, or here's what's new in anime, Hot Spring Anime presented by whatever brand, instead of, hey guys, I love Gundams. You love Gundams? Let's love Gundams. And it just felt very almost in a New York Comic-Con way. Here's what's hot and new,
and here's what
manufactured.
Yeah, here's manufactured, exactly. Cookie cutter, not as personalized.
So no one will tell me how to make my big O cod piece.
I mean, I'll help you with that, Pat. I will help you with whatever cod pieces you need made.
You're very kind, thank you. All right, so Anime Boston, and it will have.
You can put a gear on it.
2 big gears.
Stick a gear on it.
And a dispenser.
Look, any technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic, so...
Okay.
Steampunk tentacle.
I own one of those, actually.
What?
Okay, we're going down a dark tunnel here. So I think we're just about out of time.
But I do writing on the show.
All right.
In conclusion, Anime Boston, it is what you make of it, and I am saddened by not being able to sit here and say, my God, I had the best time ever. I love Anime Boston. Because a lot of the paneling that I once looked forward to has been kind of weeded out to make room for industry paneling.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude, but hopefully they'll
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if I'm there to find out next year.
All right, well, fingers crossed, tentacles crossed.
Yes, indeed. I didn't see any of those this year.
Oh.
Usually there's one day of the tentacle cosplayer. I didn't see any this year.
That's because no one's thinking of the children. All right, so this has been the Geek Down here on